Today is September 11th. Each and every one of us who was alive then remembers exactly where we were standing and what we were doing on that fateful day when the news came. Many of us watched in horror on TV as we watched the planes crash in to the World Trade Center and then Twin Towers and afterwards the Pentagon. To see such evil manifested by people showed us the worst of humanity. But in the days after September 11th, we also saw the best of humanity. We saw people who were kind, who were caring, who were loving. We saw on September 11th the firefighters, the policemen who risked their lives, and didn't just risk their lives, but lost their lives protecting our country. It's a day we will never forget. Us in Boston, it hit really close to home. I was living in Boston then. I remember that morning because just a little bit earlier we had an event at the Park Inn, where today we have the shops at Chestnut Hill and the Avalon, and there used to be a little hotel where the terrorists slept the night before they boarded the planes. And just a month earlier we had an event for Chabad at that place. And we knew people through Maimonides School and others who had been on the plane or who were supposed to be on the plane. Today is also the 25th of Elul. The 25th of Elul, according to tradition, is the day that God created the world. And on that day, he created the possibility for humanity. Adam and Eve, who were created 6 days later on the 6th day of creation, where the world was prepared for Adam and Eve, and they had the opportunity to either lift the world to the greatest heights or to unfortunately bring it to the greatest lows. Right now in Israel, there's a conference of over 150 people from 65 countries who are in Israel, learning from Israel how to deal with security threats, with terror, and so on. Because, in fact, right after September 11th, the world came running to Israel to teach them how to deal with terror. Israel would have never allowed a terrorist into the front of the plane where the pilots were, to the cockpit. But Israel was the one who taught the world and continues to be at the forefront of fighting terror. Just last month, when Gruni and I were in Israel, and we had a 1:05 a.m. flight coming back from Israel, and the flight was delayed by a half an hour. And the next morning when we arrived in Boston, we found out that the reason why it's delayed was because someone in Nablus stole a car and rammed it into one of the checkpoints. In Israel, there's a 3-mile perimeter around the airport where no one could get in without going through checkpoints. And someone had rammed it in, and they closed the entire airport and had everyone in the airport lie down on the floor for 25 minutes. It was in the news the next day. We didn't know while we were waiting. But Israel always took and takes precaution to protect its citizens and is teaching the world to do the same. I once heard a story about a person who came to the rabbi one day and said, "Rabbi, I want to sponsor the Kiddush this Shabbos because I was in a car accident, and it was a terrible car accident. Miraculously, I was saved." And he made this most beautiful Kiddush. And the next Shabbos, someone comes to the rabbi and says, "Rabbi, I want to make and sponsor a Kiddush this Shabbos." And the rabbi said, "Why, were you also in an accident?" And he says, "No, I want to sponsor a Kiddush to thank the Almighty that I wasn't in an accident." You know, sometimes we don't realize the gift of life that God gives us. How many people were on those planes? 3,000 people lost their lives. How many people had the opportunity to make their last phone call and called their loved ones saying, "I love you, I care for you"? Those were the words they said. They wanted to be here, but we're here. And we have to make our lives matter. And we have to make our lives full of meaning and purpose as we remember these courageous people and we continue to bring goodness and kindness in the world. Tonight, Gruni has a challah bake for 125 ladies. As you see, I'm in the room here where Gruni had just set up. It's beautiful. And it's going to be an awesome event. And they will make a memorial and speak about 9/11, a moment of silence for those who lost their lives. And we're also going to be praying for an amazing girl in our community, a young 19-year-old who's having surgery today for a brain tumor, and for others that need prayer and blessing. May the love and the camaraderie and the faith of all these women and of all of us bring healing to a world that's fractured, bring security to those that need it, safety and comfort to those that need it. God bless you. Have an awesome day.